Hello, good evening. Thank you all for coming to the Primrose Hill CBD Entrepreneurs event. My name is Peter. I'm a local resident of Primrose Hill. We run these events on a monthly basis. It's all about community and supporting the entrepreneurs and startups. I also write a column in On the Hill magazine, which is a local magazine we do, and I interview many people. And I realized there are more than 6 CBD entrepreneurs in this tiny village, and I just wanted to kind of get them all together on a panel. So tonight we're going to hear from some of them. Unfortunately, Paul didn't manage to come, but sorry for the delay. Yeah, I would like to give the floor to Lorna, who is our chair. She's also part of this organization, so yeah, she's going to tell you more. Lorna, please.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming on a Saturday evening. I assume everyone's got Strictly on record, yeah? So I'm Lorna. I chaired the last Magic Village Entrepreneurs panel, which was on female founders. And so when Peter said that tonight was on CBD, I was like, oh my god, that's like so niche. And I have to laugh at myself because I even told them to remove the word marijuana from the Facebook group because I thought that would really put people off. Since then, I have had my eyes completely opened. I've seen it on social media, I've seen it in the press, it's on the side of my favourite magazine, it's being sold in the Primrose Hill local shop. And I'm just like, what is wrong with me that I didn't realise that this was such a booming industry? So I work for a company called Enterprise Nation. We help people start and grow their own businesses. And yes, we've seen lots of wellness businesses form, but CBD I think is just a little nugget that's just going to go absolutely mainstream. So I'm so excited that you've all joined me here this evening. We're going to be interviewing these entrepreneurs to find out all about their brands and how they are establishing themselves in what is, you know, quite a new kind of brand, a new product. So if you wouldn't mind starting to introduce yourself, say who you are, what your brand is.
Okay, I'm Jasmin. I run Ohana CBD, which is a wellness brand, and we focus on all natural plant-based vegan skincare. Each of our products is infused with quite a high dose of CBD. And yeah, it's good for loads of different things. I think a lot of people confuse it for skin ailments. I personally got into this because I have an autoimmune disease, so I actually medicate with it myself as well. And yeah, that's me and my brand.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Shiona and I'm co-founder alongside my partner Jason of Graces London, which is a CBD skincare and wellbeing brand. So we set the business up in 2016 on the back of and in honour of my dad, who I spent a lot, over 10 years of cannabis research. He had quite a rare, rapid form of multiple sclerosis and was the form of many trials here in the UK. He passed away in 2014, and since then they legalised CBD in this country, and I was able to put my 10 years of research into practice and create a product which I'm extremely proud of and hope to tell you about it today. So thank you.
Hi everybody, my name's James, partner with Meg over there, and together we have various oils and tinctures for pre and menopausal women. It helps with everything from anxiety to hot legs at night time, any kind of aches and pains, and we just give a bit of control back to people who are going through the challenges that present themselves with menopause. So we have a lovely website and lovely products on there. Again, anything from oils that you put under your tongue, creams or sprays that you put in your legs at night time to help give a better night's sleep. So it's myself and Meg for Naturally Pure, the emblem.
Hi everyone, I'm Jimmy. I'm the elephant in the room, as I'm not a CBD entrepreneur. I run a marketing agency called Unbox London, and I'm here more to talk and ask questions around the trends in the CBD and also the holistic wellness market that's rapidly growing, and just to explore that a bit further.
I'm Max, hi, I'm from Sidechain. We're a blockchain CBD startup. It's basically a data analytical platform showing what exactly is in every product and to make the level of flavonoids, free.
Nice. Thank you very much. Just to make sure that everyone here this evening gets the most out of it, I just want to find out a little bit about who's in the room. So, hands up if you feel like you know like a fair bit about CBD and you don't need much education. Okay, that's good. So it's not just me. Wonderful. Okay. Who's keen to start a CBD related business? Okay. And other people are just generally interested in entrepreneurship, I imagine. And an investor. Oh, nice. We'll have them pitching later. Wonderful. Okay. So tonight it's about two things: to educate you all about CBD and whether you feel like as a consumer it's something that you might want to try. But two, to inspire and inform you guys about entrepreneurship. Cool. Okay. So first off, who wants to basically just inform the room about like, what buzz is about in terms of CBD? Like, why is this becoming so mainstream?
Yes, do so. So CBD is a non-controlled substance in the UK. It's the second most abundant cannabinoid that's found in the cannabis and hemp plant. And I think that the work that's been done behind the scenes in the last couple of years for it to be legalised has been run quite heavily by Paul Birch, the guy who's supposed to be here. He runs a drug reform think tank, basically, who are behind the Callie Blackwell campaign that was happening to get her son the legalised CBD, basically, for the infancy epilepsy that he had. So the infancy epilepsy has been a big driver into getting CBD legalised in the UK. You know, the UK are the biggest manufacturers for medical cannabis in the entire world. We export more than any other company does. So I think from a UK standpoint, with that happening here and with just the onslaught of medical cannabis stories that have been coming up in the newspapers, I think that's been one of the reasons as to why that the driver behind CBD becoming such a big thing here, and definitely as well the states recreationally legal in 9 states and medicinally in 29 as well. The proof is kind of out there and the scientific evidence has been growing really strongly over the last couple of 2 years. And I think with the wellbeing industry growing as well, it's kind of tied hand in hand and has grown out of that basically.
I think social media is a massive part of this. The UK is such a small fish in a great big pond, but we can all see what's happening in other countries. I mean, myself looking after my dad for so many years, I was already looking into cannabis research back in 2012 before it was even legalised in this country. So I was lucky enough to follow the story of the parents that worked very, very hard to bring it to the Houses of Parliament that, hang on a minute, we can see children in America being helped with their seizures of epilepsy, and it just didn't seem fair to them, and quite rightly so. So they put a lot of pressure on the government, and like Jazz said, with Paul Birch and what he did, but there were so many other people out there fighting the same fight. I think the great thing now is with social media, we can see it all happening, and it gets people asking questions. It's like, hang on a minute, we're here in the UK on such this tiny little island, and then over in America they're using it for help with cancer. They're using it to help people die better in Sweden. It's actually, instead of giving morphine-based products at the end of people's life, cannabis actually even helps people in different forms, whether they're in the last stages of illness or whether they need in the stages of illness. It was really difficult for me with Grace's London because I didn't set out to make a cosmetic, and I'm very vocal in saying that. My research was based in a substance that I knew had this therapeutic and healing effect to it. I think my naivety and stupidity came back in 2015 when I had 100 people saying it helped for this and it helped for that, and I'm like, that's amazing, let's tell the whole world about this. And then you find out that actually you can't say that. Why can't I say that? It's just, someone's been medicated for fibromyalgia for a long time, and now they're using things like different CBD products from different companies, and it's helping them. I receive emails every day, I'm off my medication, I'm just using your oil, and I'm sure Jazz gets the same, and I'm sure these guys get the same as well. So you find yourself on a very thin line of speaking your truth and honesty about what's happening here with this industry and what is actually going on. And then, yeah, it's quite quite a niche, difficult place to be. I know Meg and I have been talking about it earlier. It's difficult because you get given these opportunities in this country to speak about your brand, and you know, I'd be cheating myself if I just sat here and said, this is amazing skincare and it's going to make you look amazing. That's actually not my passion and my guide. It is amazing skincare product, but you know, we can see what's happening in other countries around the world. So I think that's what's helped us here in the UK, hasn't it? And I'm hoping momentum is just building up bigger and bigger. I know Jazz and I met at Product Earth last year, and how much has happened since then. It's been an eye-opener. I mean, I wouldn't even dream of talking to Planet Organic this time last year about trying to get my product in their shop because is it marijuana? It's like, oh, am I going to get stoned? It's like, no, this has been legal since 2014, and then you've got to find a way as to tell them why it's legal. And you know, it's just something that we're all working so hard to break down. So I think you've just got to come from a place of honesty and integrity with it. Yeah.
So, love social media that it is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of varied information out there,
Yes.
some credible, some not so credible. How can, as a consumer, like myself and like some people here today, who don't know much about CBD, know what to trust and rely?
A lot of people, the first conversation we have with them is they're looking at the global leader in the oil market is a company called Charlotte's Web.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people contact us and say, you know, can we buy the Charlotte's Web product? Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it's not very available at the moment because of the problems the States are having with the export. Mm-hmm. So they go down the road of doing what we all do. We buy television, you look for Sony, or if you trust a brand. Mm-hmm. So that's, that normally gets a conversation going, and then we can then guide them on what products, what they actually want, what they're trying to achieve. We're not really allowed to. I mean, that's going to be your biggest challenge, is sharing information. Our hands are really tied. So we get around it by talking about other people's experiences. So as you go further and further and you meet more and more people, you get more and more feedback. You know, the gummy bears that you guys have all had tonight, there's so many mums who contact us and say, we had a non-verbal autistic child who's now verbal.
Wow.
We no longer have meltdowns. We can now go to the restaurant, we can go shopping.
Yeah.
And we have people saying, you know, my father or mother has Alzheimer's, and off the oil, they'll sit in the chair like the other day on the oil, they'll come down and they'll make a coffee for everybody and we'll talk. So we get around our hands being tied by sharing other people's stories. So word of mouth and just encouraging that communication. So social media is great, we use social media and we encourage people to share their stories through social media, but it's actually people sharing their stories because our hands are tied, and that is your massive challenge, and I don't know how you're going to get around that.
We'll help where we can.
Yeah, but it is like inviting people to be open about their experiences.
Storytelling is hugely important. What I'm so admired is that it's the small startups that are there kind of championing this. However, for someone who doesn't know much about CBT, I love startups and I buy from small businesses as much as possible. I walked down the high street and I went into Holland and Barrett a couple of weeks ago to buy my CBD to test it out prior to this event, and they couldn't tell me anything. So how do you, as small startups, what are you doing to kind of like get that educational piece out there?
I'll give you an example. When Meg and I first spoke, Meg was very vocal about her experience with the menopause, and speaking about, in particular, anxiety. Mm-hmm. So again, it was just about talking. With Meg's following, obviously, you know, she's so vocal and open about her experiences anyway, it just comes back down to just talk about it. Yeah. And the more people we can get to talk about it, the more people are going to understand it. It's really as simple as that.
Jamie, do you have anything?
Yeah, I think on that point, I think what's really probably fueling the knowledge right now, I see there's like 4 things that are happening. So you've obviously got social media, which is a driving force. You know, Instagram, Facebook, bloggers, YouTube, the big podcasters, the Joe Rogans of the world that are just having conversations about everything. Then you've got this other thing, a movement bubbling, which is the rise of spirituality, of you know, the whole, all of that kind of well-being segment, which in the past was kind of labelled as pseudoscience, whereas now all of these things are rising to the surface, you know, with water being all bubbling and psychedelics and everything else. Then you've got the food industry that's changing. Now people are aware of what they're eating. They become more conscious, and they're starting to realise that actually what we've been told by the press and the TV in the past is not true. And I think all those things combined with alternative medicine as well, I think they're all fueling each other. And I think storytelling coming from these micro communities that all exist, that are all helping each other, complementing each other, I think that really helps rise it all to the surface. And it's a shame Paul's not here tonight because he's been on this train for a while. He started his first campaign, which was cannabis is safer than alcohol. And I always laughed at that because I remember when I was really young and my father caught me smoking weed, and he said to me, "Why do you want to do that?" He said, "Why don't you just have a bottle of whiskey?" And I was like, how can he was grew up in the 60s, he had a certain perception, but there's a lot of people that think like that. And I don't smoke anymore, but at the time, even as like a very young boy, I couldn't understand the logic behind that because I did drink as well, and I knew that that wasn't the case. But I think it's just, I think, all these, like I say, all these different communities spreading their stories, as you mentioned, is the best form of advertising because people don't want to see the classic nonsense adverts that are dying anyway.
It forces you to be very creative.
Yeah, and on Holland and Barrett,
really good.
I don't offend anybody, but I don't really classify them in the same category as Planet Organic or Whole Foods. They're a little bit different. They don't know too much about the business, apart from they always want to, if you do go in, they're more concerned about the points guard than about anything else. But I think it's an interesting space. But I think it's going to gain huge momentum and help the other alternative medicines out there, like Ayurveda and other things that have been around as well for thousands of years. It's not a new thing. Cannabis is not new. But I think all these different things, all these different things will fuel each other, and I think we're going to be in a very different space in a few years' time.
Okay, so storytelling is a main contributor to this growing movement. What about government legislation, research? Can anyone tell me what's being done there to kind of help harness this? Sorry.
So there's quite a bit of research that happens with GW Pharmaceuticals. The UK companies, they've got 2 drugs that were approved. One is Sativex for MS, and the other is Epidiolex, which is for infancy epilepsy and particularly Dravet syndrome, and that's got FDA approval in the States. But they also have like 5 other clinical trials running at the moment as well. So they're looking into cancer, pain management, a couple autoimmune diseases. But they've got 5 running at the moment. Basically, most of them are cancer related, but that is a really good source for clinical information. So I think, like we've discussed, it's really hard to get really good, solid information.
And do you, as a small brand, tap into that information to help kind of tweak your kind of product and your positioning as a brand, or are you just out there just doing it?
I personally have, because I used to work with GW as a client, and they've got in the pharmacovigilance team, they've had dermatologists before, so that's really helped me personally with my brand. I don't know if anyone else does anything like that, but there are a lot of clinical research and studies and trials out there. I think that has been really helpful for me to make sure that I understand it to the best of my ability, because obviously, I don't come from a scientific background. I kind of have to go to scientists for that information, but to make sure that I can understand it, they're the sort of places that I'll look for, and to look to Israel and the studies that they've been doing, and places that are really harnessing like actual clinical trials. So I think it's really important that there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of grey areas. I think actually going to the science of it is the most key important thing, and making sure that we as business owners, making sure that we understand that as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the last year the CBD research has just sped up so quickly. Before it was really far and few between of the research that you could find. We always look to Madrid and Spain, and there's so much happening in Germany, and there's so many clinical trials everywhere. And travelling in Europe has been amazing for us as a brand. Like, we went to Prague and go to Barcelona and just seeing what's actually happening not in the UK. It's an eye opener, So I know that us, Grace's London as a brand, we just try to keep on top of all different research that's going on. I read an article yesterday that in Brazil they're looking into whether THC, the psychoactive part of the cannabis plant, whether it was involved in the embryo development, and whether it's something that teaches the babies to suckle, so they know instantly when they come out of the womb that there's a sense. I know when I had my children, you put them up here and they're like little puppies, they know exactly where to go, they sense the milk. We're just pretty much like, it's a human instinct. So that's amazing, and we're keeping our eyes on that, because I mean that's just phenomenal. There was more research a few years ago that mothers used to say, oh, you know, they told me, oh, there's no point breastfeeding after 6 months because the nutrition leaves the milk then. You know, there's so much research coming out of Germany that cannabinoids are present in breast milk. If that's not mind-blowing enough, I don't know what is. The fact that we have a cannabis plant that mimics cannabinoids that we make in our own body, for me, that's enough. You know, you've got endocannabinoids that we make in our own body, and then you've got phytocannabinoids from the cannabis plant. They're literally the same, and they just work in relation with each other, with skin receptors and receptors that are found in all organs of the body, the heart, the lungs, the brain. It's just mind-blowing. So I think as a brand, you definitely have to keep on top of that. And
Yeah.
when I feel like we're excluded slightly in the UK, you have to, you know, just right, you have to go out looking for it. You need to look to the other countries, you need to look to the clinical trials, you need to look to the actual science, because when it comes down to it, people just want to hear it from somebody with a lot of letters after their name and they've got a degree. Let's be honest, you know, I was expelled from school at 15, but it doesn't mean that I haven't got the intelligence of what's going on, you know? So I think...
Although I can tell you know a lot about it.
It's literally, my passion years ago was trying to keep my dad alive and look at what was the best thing out there and what the government doing, what the UK doing, and all of my research led me to other countries. It led me not here, you know? And when they legalised CBD in 2014, it was amazing. But like Jazz said, you know, it's been a hard struggle, you know, we rely on science everywhere else but the UK, and we rely on customers' testimonials and their feedback and what they bring to the table, you know, and it's grateful and a blessing every day when you get a message from someone saying, I've used your oil, or I've used your balm and this happened, and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know it worked for that, like, thank you so much, you know, like, that's amazing. And it just, so I think it's,
Are you able to, because I'm just learning kind of what you can and can't do, are you able to share those testimonials?
Yes.
You are?
you
Okay.
are, yes.
So customer testimonials you can share, but you as
But we cannot say, if you take the product, it will happen for you too.
Okay.
So we cannot say it have the same effects. But what we do is when people do ask us, we seem to be in a position where we have to verify. So people come to us just sometimes for advice, and they teach on the edge, and they've got a moral sort of hill to climb because it's cannabis, and so first of all we've got to help them get over that. And we generally use the World Health Organization. They have a report, and they keep updating that report, and it's readily available online as well. It's really easy to find it. And they list, I think there's about 10 conditions that they make comments on, and they make some very, very safe comments about. A lot of people say, you know, am I going to get high? Am I going to get addicted? Am I going to be reliant? So they make some really clear, absolute clear statements where it says they have yet to find any side effects. They do then warn about. It goes very deep into the science of it and how your body processes it. There are some drugs that are processed through the same systems, through your liver. It's called the P450 system. So there are some very technical things that they allude to, which is something that you're going to have to go off and have a look at on different levels. But they keep it quite high and quite nice and fluffy, and they make some good statements. For example, coming back to there's no addictive nature. They're yet to find any reliance or addictability. So we use that and we draw upon that. Because it's not, a lot of people come to us and they don't trust pharmaceuticals, they don't trust the government, so they don't want us to, or when we do present information from them, they dismiss it immediately. These are the guys that they're not trusting, they're trying to get away from. World Health Organization seem to be taken in a different light, so they seem to trust when we quote the word, and because it's so readily available online, they can do their own research. So generally we draw upon the WHO, and the fact that the Global Anti-Doping Agency have removed it from the list of substances that are controlled for competitive athletes. Yeah, so a lot of people take a lot of reassurance in that. So we generally try to stick at a really high level rather than going to just because they're coming to us sometimes because they don't trust the pharmaceuticals or they're having a bad experience with the pharma products and not working on them. So we always go and try to quote the World Health Organization.
Max, can you please share some kind of opportunities or challenges there are striking out in this industry?
Yeah, sure. So the main sort of ones we're seeing on a daily basis is people don't know what they're taking.
Yeah.
Really, they don't know what the product's made of, what that was, what kind of noise it, and more the reason why they're taking it. Why it works for them. So one thing we're trying to do with Sidechain is actually get all those products analysed on a chemical level, so you know exactly what you're taking for what reason. Because there's absolutely nothing out there, and people are. I hate to say it. I know we see a lot of stories and we can sort of take our own opinion from those, but on a scientific level, no one has too much of an idea what's going on, which is frustrating, I think, for a lot of consumers, as well as a lot of suppliers and actually growers in the industry. People don't know what's going on. So yeah, one thing trying to do Sidechain is overcome that sort of understanding and allow people to make sort of an informed decision on their own without sort of spending hundreds and thousands of hours trying to find out what the hell is going on.
I think that's our main goal, is to give people the ability to make an informed decision.
Yeah.
So that's how we present our information. So we don't give advice. We tell them, we inform them, and then they can make their own decision. So I think that's the best thing to do.
And Jimmy, maybe for you, kind of what do you predict will happen kind of like next in the wellness industry as a whole?
Actually, just got a question really on the research part of it. I mean, this is something that's thousands of years old, but like, there's obviously clearly someone that is not wanting this research to possibly come out. Let's just get straight to the crunch. I mean, what role is Big Pharma playing in all of this? Because obviously cannabis is a naturally grown product. It's not synthesized. So I'm just curious in terms of how the reaction has been from the pharmaceutical industry with regards to the growth in CBD and cannabis interest as a whole.
So I think CBD's only actually been isolated from THC since like the late 80s.
Okay.
So that's a contributing reason why there's not extensive research on it. And for something like arnica or natural plant-based things, for it to be licensed in the UK and be seen as like alternative medicine, it has to have been studied for 15 years previously. So I think that's what also limits the knowledge of CBD. And Big Pharma are starting to get into it, and they're starting to relook at it now because obviously they're going to have no choice to.
It's like that Coca-Cola are getting involved.
I was about to say, yeah, no,
I think
that's, like Wrigley's going to probably do chewing gum, and then you've got, I mean, Coca-Cola. I mean, I don't want to annoy anyone, but it's the most toxic drink out there. It's like a carcinogenic, and they want to put CBD in there. Now that annoys me, and that's where I think the small start-up brands that are passion-driven and in educating people and helping people, I think that's where people are fed up with the mass-produced bull, the same stuff, saying, people don't want that anymore. They want honesty, they want integrity, they just cut the crap, tell us how it is. And I think that's where the kind of businesses like us guys, I think that's where we will shine through, because especially with the wellness market, everyone's getting they want to make their own products at home, everyone's watching what they eat, what they drink. I was woken up to, the amount of toxic metals that are in food and drink. I get a lot of passion going around telling everyone that the skin's a large organ of the body. I mean, people are like, they're vegan and they're worried about this and they're worried about that, and then they're using things like Dove that has a really high toxic metal, methylosione in it, and no one's talking about that, and that's what's being advertised on our tellies. And so I think advertising and marketing consumers, they've got a lot to speak up for. And then the whole GW pharmaceutical things, Jazz mentioned earlier, that we're the largest manufacturer of legal cannabis. We're talking high THC cannabis. Let that sink in, people. It's a massive world with a tiny little UK that won't allow us to talk about certain elements of what CBD is helping with people. Yet they've been growing it in Kent since 1999. My dad was offered high THC in 2000. You don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but you're very right to bring that up. Like, what is the big deal? What is the hold-up? Write the legislation, change it,
Yeah, I mean, probably this isn't the panel for it, but I do think there are
where you're coming from.
Lots of them. I think we're all on the same page here.
Yeah.
And I think, again, going back to what I was just talking about with regards to spirituality and things that were, to use that phrase again, pseudoscience. Cacao, Palo Santo, all these things, right, which are kind of all in the market. But if you start looking at some of the science now that's coming through in terms of antibacterial qualities from Palo Santo smoke, which is actually used to not for that purpose, but when they start analysing all these things, they're finding more and more evidence coming out. And I just think with what you said about obviously the big brands coming in, I think the majority of the public, and I don't have evidence for this, are starting to wise up to that, to understand what these brands are doing. And, you know, all these small batch producers, I mean, I've worked recently on a project in London, and it's amazing the amount of food production, quality food production that's coming out of the UK, in London. Even, you know, craft beer, coffee, and all kinds of, you know, food really. And I think, you know, it would be a shame if, you know, obviously if these big brands come in and they kind of almost bastardise the hard work you guys have done. The bit again that I'm really interested in is the big pharma, because they must be concerned about this.
They've all got products on trial.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They're all absolutely deep into it.
They've done their research and seen it for a long time coming. Yeah, the rest of us have basically been held back until they get their ducks in the row and release the rest of us, so it seems.
But I think it's right what Jazz said, that the endocannabinoid system, it was and CBD, it hasn't been that long ago that it was isolated. We do need a lot of research, but there is a lot of research out there that we could ask.
Sure.
You know, please, could we have more clinical research? You know, there's so many countries out there to gain it from. I think that's what annoys me.
I don't think we'll ever get it, to be honest, because it's such a commercial. It's their intelligence. It's what they make their money from. So I don't think they'll ever share it with any of us. I think what's going to happen ultimately, the trials are going to end because they're just times. So the amount of time is going to lapse. The trials are going to end. They're going to release it as a product that can be widely prescribed. And right now, as you mentioned, it can be prescribed, particularly Sativex for MS. So it's not prescribed that often, but it can be.
Very expensive.
Yeah. But ultimately, when it does become, when those time trials have lapsed, then it will be prescribed. And what you'll find is that the industry will change hugely. That for producers like us, we're going to be back into the small shops, and we're going to be niche, perhaps considered artisan. And then you're going to have people who have got the ailments that we'll then be allowed to talk about, will go to the GP and they'll be prescribed it. So I think at that stage, the industry will change.
Yeah, so you're going to have different sides of it, but let's just hope everyone can get it like the way they choose to get it, whether it's as a cosmetic or a medicine. Let's just hope that all those areas are awake.
Right now, their intellectual property, they won't give up. This is how they make their money.
Sorry, I'm going to pull it back slightly. Shona, you mentioned Coca-Cola. Whether we like it or not, they are a mainstream brand. They have millions and billions of consumers. What I would love to see is a small startup kind of knocking on the doors of these big conglomerates saying, you know, what are the partnership opportunities? I know, Shona, you're stocked in Selfridges as an example.
Yeah.
What can be done? What are the opportunities there for small brands to collaborate with big brands to get it out there more?
I'm still kind of new to it all, if I'm honest. You know, we've been stocked in Selfridges since May, and we're in a very small concession in Selfridges. And you know, the way that happened was the lady, her name's Jane Wallace. She's a very well-known clairvoyant in this country and other countries, and she's all into psychic and natural healing availability. She saw the gap of that I couldn't say this product helped with these certain things, and herself had suffered from arthritis from a young age, from the age of 7. So that's the way that our paths kind of crossed. And she's been a strong advocate. I was not going to go and knock the Selfridges door after just making a cannabis brand. I think I just wanted to crack on with Islington and Primrose Hill and Camden, where I've been born and bred, and try and just help the people on my kind of level. And then what happened with Selfridges, it was kind of like a miracle, you know, that Jane had contacted me and said, I think your products are amazing, like, I really want to pioneer and help you get involved. And Selfridges has been great for that. But then I don't want one type of person getting this. This needs to be available everywhere. So we do our pop-ups in Camden Lock, and we go to Fulham, we go to Greenwich, we go where we can. But
now that you're in Selfridges, would you have the confidence to go knocking on other?
I think it would, yeah. And I remember 18 months ago trying to talk to Whole Foods and people, and it was just like, they just thought I was crazy.
But now they know so much.
It's like, are you stoned on the phone? You want us to sell cannabis? You know? So 2 years ago, that is what it was like, and now it's people contacting us. So it's phenomenal. But I think you just need to just try and get it out to as many. We're open to working with everyone and anyone. I think we just want to spread the knowledge. You know, we don't make tinctures, but I will make sure that people go and get it from this one. CBD Brothers go. So it's CBD drops under your tongue.
Okay.
So we've been working on our formula for a very long time. But if people come to me, I'm not going to not send them to another brand. It's like I just want people to get CBD.
Yeah.
You know, whatever way you want to do it, you do it that way.
So it is a fairly collaborative industry.
I think so. I think we're stronger in numbers, you know, and this is a niche industry. There isn't an
Can we
industry.
see some partnerships forming tonight?
We could do, yes, already. We've already had chats, haven't we? But I think that's what it is. I think it's the people that are important in the industry, of just honesty, integrity, and keeping together. And when we'll sing from the same page, someone surely has to listen.
And I think that will have a knock-on effect in terms of your sales as well. If we have a confidence as a consumer that you kind of know what you're talking about, I think then the floodgates will open.
You've got to have everything. I mean, you've got to have all the honesty in your story, then you've got to have the scientific background, then you need to have the data analysis of your products. There's no point you saying you've got the highest concentrate CBD and you haven't got it tested. You know, people need to see that, they need to know that. In the last 6 months, you've got two labs that are now in the UK that actually do cannabinoid testing. We didn't have that before. We was always having to send our stuff to Spain or Germany, and even still, the UK, when it comes to the UK and legislation, you want to have UK stuff to give back to them. Well, it's tested down the road, you know, what can you kind of say now? And that's what is just so exciting to watch the last 6 months of how people are trying to jump on board. You know, we spoke earlier that there's a big problem with online payment providers when it comes to setting up your website and things like that. And people are like, you told me your website was ready 6 months ago. I was like, my website's been up, it's been shut down, it's now been closed for a while I work on it because
so Amazon, eBay, can you Facebook advertise?
Not really. So we had our products on Amazon. We successfully lasted 72 hours. I think that's probably the longest UK brand has lasted on Amazon when it comes to CBD. It's all to do with the CBD is still linked as a reputational risk to businesses. It's still linked with drug paraphernalia. The times, it needs to be changed. You know, this paperwork is stopping us wanting to do what we're trying to do and help people and just spread awareness. So,
how do you think all these brands are getting around that on Amazon then? Because there are a lot of brands.
There are a lot of brands, so it's a difficult one. So if I was to re-register my business in Ireland and maybe go onto Amazon that way, I could get onto it that way. It's a grey area, and anyone wants to contact me, it's been such a headache. I'd be happy to tell anyone to not go through the stress that people like myself and Jasmin
you type in what I'm saying is you type in CBD into Amazon. There's a raft of different
this is
patches
our
and
argument.
tinctures and all.
So you spend I'm born and bred here in the UK. I want the UK to be on board. I could quite easily go and set up a CBD company in America, or I could go to Ireland where all my family are. You know, the island's paving the way now, but with CBD as well. They're growing it. There's so many farmers involved in Ireland. But yeah, we want to do it here in the UK, don't we? We want the UK to jump on board. It's really important, you know.
You can get on Amazon, but they will close you down.
Yeah.
PayPal will seize your funds. Facebook will close your account. Insta will close your account. So they will all hunt you down and close you down. But a lot of people that buy from us, resellers, they go up, they try their luck. They might last a week, they might last 2 or 3 months, but ultimately they'll close you back down again.
It's an American brand, so in America it's federally illegal and it's Schedule 1, so it's being rescheduled. So that's why Whole Foods don't stock CBD products, because they're owned by Amazon. So it's actually more to do, even like Eventbrite. So I run a women's entourage network, which is a cross-based platform for a network for women who want to get into the legal cannabis industry. So we want to help and support women in this booming industry, because obviously we recognise it as a big place of growth. And we were holding a women's brunch for it last month, and we said women's CBD, and Eventbrite shut us down. And they were like, you can't do this because you're we're American. And we're like, well, we know that we're based here in London. And they were like, oh, so sorry, and they put it back up. So a lot of it's to do with, and even with the banking side of things, a lot of it's to do with how much interaction that individual company has with America, because it's federally illegal.
Max, what can small brands do?
Yeah, I was about to say I found it with so many different CBD brands where they are having issues with payment. yourself, and that's something Sidechain plans to sort of help overcome and fix, by giving you guys sort of a real platform dedicated to you. Where we're not shutting you down, where we want to promote you, and at the same time being able to sort of those payment systems. We want to be ideally the tech guys for you guys. In a lot of senses, if there's an issue you need sort of new ways, going about it, we will have the ability.
Well, there's definitely a market there
for
for
it. Exactly, the need in the industry.
Yeah.
Like I said before, we just shot something. It's amazing, no one else has done it. So.
There are some organisations that will support, but ultimately they've got to pay the funds into your bank.
Sure,
so if your bank finds out you're trading CBD, there's primary. So we own other businesses, so we have cafes and we have the contactless payment systems that are provided to us. These are MasterCard by WorldPay. WorldPay, we just recently applied for an upgrade on the devices, and WorldPay done some kind of research, found that one telephone number related to one of our cafes is listed on one of our CBD stores and refused our upgrade. In a cafe,
it's
nothing
like,
to do with CBD.
It's like MI6 work.
So you've really got to choose how you communicate, how you tie your business together, the association, and who you initially or end up being with in terms of relationship.
You've got to find a processing partner who's got offshore accounts at the moment. I don't think there's anyone in the UK.
And that's fine, and they exist, and they're quite easy to find, but they've still got to pay the money into your bank in the UK.
They're very expensive.
We thought it was easy as that, and it's just not.
No, I've done it though. It's not too difficult. I can share the details with you.
We lasted, I think, a week. We've been shut down like 4 times. Is it?
Yeah, we found one in the Netherlands, I think they're based now, and since then it's been absolutely fine. The only problem is that they're just like extremely expensive, but it's the only thing that we found that actually works.
I have to pay a high premium. Yeah. We've spent the last 3 months talking to my bank, which is Lloyd's, and just kept going back and back and back and trying to push them to just take us on as a dummy run. You're never. How are you ever going to know if this is going to work if you're not going to take someone on? And I had everything crossed, but no, that didn't happen. But they tell me that Barclays have said they're going to change their policy June next year. Lloyd's say they're going to change March next year. So
can't wait till then.
Let's see. We can't wait till then, no. But so let's see what does happen. So I'm hoping anyone that does want to get into the industry next year, hopefully, it will be so much easier for them. And they won't have to go through all the grey areas of ducking and diving and jumping hoops and through flames and you name it. I think we've done it.
Twice.
Yeah.
It sounds so hypocritical, given that we are the biggest exporters. It just, you don't want to talk about conspiracy theories, but how hypocritical that you are all in this position in the UK, but Theresa May's husband and his kind of money and those kind of people with them kind of money have got so much investment in this industry. It is mind-blowing.
It is quite difficult. You don't want to be perceived as like conspiracy theories. I'm against government. You don't want, you're trying to make a brand and you realise that this could make a huge contribution to their bottom line. Yeah, definitely. So that's just things that we'll do what we can to kind of lobby. Okay, so 1 in 4 of us experience a mental health issue each year. Is CBD the answer to this crisis?
It's probably not the answer, because the answer is to find out what's causing that. But certainly people who are suffering, they find great help from CBD. So whether it's... Give some examples. Yeah, anxiety is a huge one. So some people can take just one gummy bear a day and their anxiety will just completely disappear. Some people need to take a lot more. Tincture on the tongue and anxiety will completely
And how would someone know how many gummy bears to take, not take?
You don't, unfortunately, because for some people you can spray it in your face and it will act immediately. Some people will take the oil for 21 days. That's strength.
So it's a trial and error situation.
It's a journey, yeah. So you've got to help someone start a journey, and they're looking for what we call the sweet spot.
Yeah.
And what they do is you can either start off, if it's going to be a budget-driven thing, then they usually start off at a low dose and then build up. If it's not a budget-driven thing, then they can afford to. They go on a high dose, find their sweet spot, and then reduce the amount down, and so they can start to consider money. But there is a relatively scientific way of doing it that's out there and widely used, and that is a milligram per weight. So you weigh yourself with every 1 pound you weigh.
The problem is, if you have a mental health issue, you don't quite have the brain capacity to figure out dosage. Whereas if you go to the doctor, they recommend X amount of milligrams.
You're coming right back to the problem we all have is our ability to communicate that.
Yeah.
For me, when someone phones or when someone asks, I just tell them. And I tell them based as much as I can related to other people's stories, to try to keep, but I can't, when you've got someone on the phone, I remember I had this lady once and she just couldn't get through the day.
I'm sure, yeah.
And she was on the phone, she was crying, and what do you do? Do you say, I'm sorry, I can't tell you, I can't talk about it? The human side of you kicks in and says, look, you know what, this is what we're going to do for you, this is what other people have done, and we try to comply as much as possible, but sometimes when you're faced with someone distraught in front of you, you can't help but help. So it comes back down to the same thing. Yeah, with mental health awareness, it's probably one of the biggest drivers people searching for the product, and it helps hugely across whether it's something that's come on temporarily through some kind of abuse, whether it's something that's going through biologically like the menopause, or whether it's something from stress, from lifestyle. Yeah, it helps hugely. Anxiety and mental health is one of the big drivers that people find in us.
How do your products help with anxiety and depression?
So our products are not directly linked to helping with anxiety and depression, because the most effective way to take it if you are suffering from severe anxiety or depression is to take it sublingually, because it's only going to, that's how it's going to really the cannabinoid system. You can use it in in your internal system, but I suppose to translate that a way that it could help is, for example, our lavender soothing balm. You can use that on the bottom of your feet when you're going to sleep, or you can use that on your hands as you're sleeping, just so you can have that smell of lavender. And it's also just part of a self-care ritual, a self-care routine, and that's how I really use it for myself. Basically, is to make sure that I feel look like my best that I can every day. Taking the time out to use my face oils every day, or use the balm on my feet every day. I suppose that's how it kind of helps me from a mental perspective and balance. But skincare is definitely not the way forward if you're looking for an anxiety or a depression fix when it comes to CBD.
Jimmy, you were mentioning kind of other remedies to kind of mental health issues outside of CBD. Do you want to touch on any of those? Or?
I'm actually really fascinated by the gummy bear and the usage for anxiety. I mean, I'm not an expert at all in this field, and I've in the past I've always looked to Ayurveda and in terms of to take something, and yoga, meditation, that kind of thing. But I wasn't really aware too much about the anxiety aspects of it. And again, from personal experience, and I know this is not CBD, but I think a lot of people also have there's a lot in out there of people that have anxiety has been caused from use of cannabis, THC, not CBD. So I find that quite extraordinary, and I know that part of it, as that kind of emerges, because I'm very closely linked to quite a small yoga business, and I see a lot of the inquiries that come through. So not just people booking a class or a session, just inquiries, what people are saying and what the problems they're going through, and it's amazing. And to see how much is actually going on the surface. You think you've got all these young professionals and everything's going great. Their Instagram account, everything looks fantastic. But there's some real deep healing on many different levels that people need. So I'm really interested in this whole anxiety piece, because I personally have had anxiety many years ago. Comes and goes, but this is something that I think is very interesting in the market, which as the word spreads via stories and word of mouth, I think it's probably the most powerful way right now of marketing.
Yeah.
I think there's anxiety. I think that's completely due to non-regulated markets.
Yeah.
Naturally, we get a sort of 50% THC, 50% CBD, whereas because the way it's been, completely underground, they try to jack up the THC as much as they can, so to speak, causing anxiety and other sort of
schizophrenia and other stuff. I think that's what it is. You had 15-20 years ago, they wanted to re-evolve the plants to make it high THC, didn't they? They just wanted to dry homes, and that's so it can cause things like psychiatritis and schizophrenia and paranoia. If you haven't got the CBD and THC ratios
And it's education. It's just getting that out there in the market and people understanding it and getting around the loopholes. And I should imagine the kind of influencer space and the bloggers will be kind of driving this, right? Will drive because they can say what they want.
Yeah, there's so many. I learned so much. I don't know about everyone else, but I learned so much from other people that are in the industry, and especially looking to Europe and America and what they're doing, and Canada. I mean, they've just completely legalised it. So I tend to look to influential men and women over there and what they're doing. I just hope one day that we can drive that kind of the same way here. But I mean, with yoga, we make our own cannabinoids when we practice yoga. You know, we've got 2 different forms of cannabinoids called andamines and 2-AG, and they're linked heavily with serotonin, which is the bliss molecule, which makes you happy again. Like, I think when we start looking into it that way, forget about CBD and cannabis, it's actually looking into the human systems of the body and work out how they relate to the endocannabinoid, and it all links back to cannabis. You know, you don't have to go cannabis in everyone's faces, just go to like that, like yoga. You know, that's like there was, trust me, I'm a doctor, it was on last week. I'm a singer-songwriter, I run a record label with my partner. If I am not able to sing, we have a home studio, and if I don't watch telly, I sing or I songwrite or I do poetry. If I'm not able to sing, I get anxiety, I get agitation, and you know, I didn't realise, but watching that programme, trust me, I'm a doctor last week, they said that the human body makes the most cannabinoids when you sing. I was just like, that's because the minute I sing, I'm like, oh, my partner's like, oh my god, we can't breathe. She's sung. Anxiety's gone. I'm making my own cannabinoids.
Give us a song.
Yeah, I don't even need my product, you know. And I think that if you go into that way of educating and talking, and I know that with the Entourage Network concept, that other women will talk about wellness, what wellness means to them, and how they bring CBD in and linking CBD with the spiritual side of things. I think yoga is a great way to do that because there's scientific research there that we actually make our own cannabinoids through stuff like yoga. So
absolutely,
it's amazing. Yeah.
Again, it's another conversation, but it's DMT. It's found naturally occurring in the body. I mean, this whole. You know, that's why I think all these. That's why I think all of these things coming to the surface will start reinforcing these different communities, and everything will rise, you know, more powerfully together, combined.
I hope you're right. I think it's very exciting right now.
I think on the sound side, I mean, I think the biggest trend that I see right now in terms of really catching on is sound healing. And there's actually, in fact, in terms of singing, there's a lady in Ibiza who does singing therapy. That's her business.
Amazing.
And the crystal bowls and the gong. I know it's all kind of, it's been around for years and years and years, but I think all these things combined, so with, you know, with taking and all these other different forms of healing, combined will become very, very powerful. And I think it will just further allow people to trust more in these natural, ancient systems that have been around forever. You know, it's not new stuff. You know, I know that CBD thing is, but actually, you know, in terms of what's coming from this one.
I think it's just been waking up. I know Jazz and I are quite heavily involved in a place called Hello Love in Bloomsbury Square, and Jane suffered breast cancer, and then she, after curing herself from non-toxic, she had chemo, but then she learned about the effects of chemo, and she's just been a pioneer in non-toxic practice and educating people on what they should be eating, what they should be drinking, and what you should be putting on your skin. And she's created this hub that offers free treatments to people that suffer with cancer, and you can go there and have sound bowl therapy massage. I've been down there a couple of times to experience it, and until you experience it, it's another level. You know, it's just like, what just happened to me? I've learned so much from her, and down in that place in Bloomsbury Square, of teaching people non-toxic practice. So that's a way that I'm now seeing people opening up to it, and now she's incorporating CBD down there. She's talking to people without us saying anything. It's happening, and that's the greatest thing. You know, people are getting it.
And science is catching up as well. They're starting to actually prove. I know the meditation thing has been, you know, that trend has been running for a while, but they're starting to now actually, you know, bring science and improve some of these things that, like I said, were like just spirituality. It's not really something science normally.
You can't hold it in your hands, can you? It's not something physical that you have. Yeah, and I think that's what it is. But science is catching up with it, trying to write stuff now to cement the energies of the body. And yeah, it's exciting right now. I mean, 15 years ago, my mum used to get laughed at, and she was a hippie, and you know, and it's just not the case. So yeah, it's exciting.
You've definitely converted Jimmy. I can tell he's nodding away. Jimmy's start a business tomorrow. I'm going to open up the floor to questions shortly, so just have a little think about what you want to ask our panel. But beforehand, I just want to go along the line and regardless of whether someone in the audience is thinking of starting up a CBD business or not, lots of people might be sitting here with an idea in any industry. Can you just please share with another top tip or what you wish you'd known before you started your business, something that our audience can take away?
I think it's definitely something that you have to be passionate about, because it is not an easy industry at all, and there are a lot of challenges. So I think it's definitely something that you have to be extremely passionate about, extremely flexible, and yeah, I would say don't go into it with this is, with one view, this is exactly what I'm going to do, because that's probably going to change, because it's changing all the time. So I would just say be passionate, be flexible, and yeah, I think you have to be quite a compassionate person as well to be part of this industry, because it's like, like you said, you were going to get a lot of phone calls, you're going to get a lot of messages about people wanting help and advice, and a lot of it's quite emotional. I'd say be emotionally ready for it as well. Get a therapist.
I'm the same. I'd probably say the biggest thing that I've learned is I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old as well, and I've lived with my partner, we already run our own business, and then we was going to jump into business together. It's like we've been together 17 years. Can we do this? Are we going to end up wanting to kill each other? We're already doing so much together already. And I think I put a lot of stress and anxiety and pressure on myself in the beginning of, this is what I should be doing, I need to be out there, I've got to be networking, I should, 9 to 5, and actually, you have to measure your own success and what your own balance is. So, I might be working on the computer 1 o'clock in the morning, but I was able to bring the kids to school, and I went for a run, and I had coffee with a friend. So I think the biggest thing I've learned is weigh up your own success of how you want to work. Because I used to look at other people and think, I'm not doing that. What am I doing here? Because I didn't have a clue about business in the beginning. I went for the love of it and on with the flow, So I find myself in quite a happy place right now. Just tell everyone, plan nothing. just go with the flow and just hope the universe helps you.
Yeah, I think the amount of time you have to put in your own time, you must be willing to just completely dedicate yourself completely. But on the practical side, definitely the compliance, because you can work as hard as you can, get everything right, and all of a sudden you'll be closed down and you start from scratch again. So if you try to get the right product, so the quality of the product, because there's so much rubbish out there, the right product, and then the right platforms and the way to sell that product. From a practical perspective, we learned very early on, our first website had the word cannabis in there. Shut down, everything was closing. So we spent lots of time making it, doing all of our research, launching our brand, logos. If you guys have watched this before, all the costs and the time, all shut down. So, but because there was no one out there, it was very early on in its life cycle. So now we all know how to, not to call your product CBD cannabis. You've got to give it a different brand. You can't have that on your website. You can't mention it in your business cards. Your telephone numbers need to be separate. So those practical things, once you've got that passion, once you've managed and once you understand your product, you've got to understand the platform which you sell it's got to be right. Otherwise, it's all for nothing.
Yeah.
I work with lots of entrepreneurs, and I think the passion thing for me is the one that I would say, you're not doing something that you really enjoy doing. When the novelty wears off and you've got to put the hours in and all the problems start coming, that's when I see a lot of entrepreneurs crumble. When you're doing something you love or that you've got some invested, general passionate interest in, then you can continue grinding, when shit hits the fan, basically.
I'd say really, in essence, quite similar to what you guys said, but love that process. It's your process, it's your story. You're going to learn a hell of a lot along the way, whether it works or it doesn't. I think most importantly is if you love that process, people will understand and see that passion alongside you and buy into you as a person or a business.
I love that. Passions come up a lot. Love the story, quality of products, really good tips. Thank you guys. Has anyone got any questions for the panel?
If anyone has a questions, you guys coming back. Anyone?
Is there anything that we haven't covered this evening that you're really keen to take away with you tonight?
Yeah, this is probably bringing it right back to basics, but could you list
the benefits of the product, because so far it's anxiety, mental health, MS, and the whole facial thing, things like that. What are they? Because I'm quite new to this product. So what other benefits have you seen come through?
I think from my perspective, different because you guys with the cosmetics. So on the management of conditions, depends what people come to us with. But if you didn't have a condition that you wanted to manage, it's a great well-being product. So I like it to cranking yourself up to number 10 and round to 11. It puts a spring in your step. Funnily enough, it gives you better access to memory, makes your brain work faster. It aches and pains that just seem to disappear. Gives you drive and ambition, and you feel like a better version of yourself. Then if you have to manage a condition, it depends on the condition you're trying to manage. But generally for well-being, it's absolutely top-notch. And anyone who doesn't have a condition they want to manage, they do take it. And look at my clients, they just come back and say, you know, my partner took it because of this. I kind of snuck some gummy bears, or I took some oil, and now I'm on it, and I love it. So, so in terms of managing which conditions, it's just endless. It really is endless. It's such an amazing, broad product that helps in so many ways. I mean, we have a lady who's perimenopause, and once a month she has very, very hot legs, and so she ends up moving her legs around the bed at night time, looking for the cold spots, and so it just wakes her up all night. She has really just terrible quality of sleep. So we have a spray. She sprays on her legs, and she goes to sleep.
Wow.
Just so we have people with Alzheimer's who take it and go from non-functioning to functioning. We have kids, with all kinds of elements. So we haven't yet seen any negative feedback or anyone come back who's come to us with a condition, irrespective of what that condition is, it didn't work.
What it doesn't work for. Yeah, it's like you need to list what it. It'd be small.
So it's really hard to list it. We'll be here all night. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had a young lady. Her mum was taking it for the menopause, and she was doing her GCSEs this year, and for the first time, this young lady experienced panic attacks. So her mum said, "Can we have some gummy bears for my daughter, please?" And it not only got her through her GCSEs, but it changed the way she lives her life. But her mum called us shortly afterwards, after the GCSE season finished, and she said, my daughter's come off it because she didn't like the version of herself that she'd become. I was like, okay, what does that mean? She said, well, she finds herself on a Saturday morning cleaning her room, coming downstairs, hoovering. And then she's a lazy person, she wants to go back to being the lazy person again.
Well, I think what's really interesting in cycling, we're trying to answer exactly your question, which cannabinoids work for, which sort of ailments, or, why does it work on the skin? It's only, I think, by collecting data over the next, sort of few years that we will be able to sort of understand that and have a real explanation for the end user.
So basically, I can answer the question why versus skin. There is scientific evidence that CBD contains anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties, and the anti-inflammatory properties are treating acne and similar skin diseases, and the antioxidant properties are actually treating your wrinkles I use for anti-aging. So it has two very powerful properties in solving the two biggest problems of the dermatology.
It's more than cosmetics, though, isn't it?
The question was how does it?
What conditions
what
can
does
it
it
help?
work?
It's definitely more than cosmetic, though, isn't it?
Yes, but she has specifically for skincare.
Well, just everything, but then
Okay. So in Hungary, about 3 years ago, they've done an amazing clinical trial that actually proves that there's skin receptors on the skin. So I know that for years people have used essential oils to smell. My mum had smelling salts years ago, someone passed out, things like that. Using essential oils on the temples, the pressure points of the body, has the linalool terpene in lavender, actually helps the pain. That has been scientifically researched. What we have found in the last few years is adding essential oils with the CBD. It's actually the terpene molecules of the essential oils, so the main one in lavender is linalool, that actually binds the CBD to these receptors. It's actually not CBD that goes, it's phenomenal, it's actually mind-blowing. So I've put mine into a rollable because I wanted a product that I'd use every day. To me, it's consistency. I have endometriosis, I'm a year overdue hysterectomy. I suffer with depression, I suffer with anxiety, and I noticed that I need to use it every day. It's something like a face oil. That product's there by my sink, near my toothbrushes. I cleanse my face in the morning, I put oil on. I now know I'm consistently using a certain amount of CBD. And because it has helped me with my pain to do with the endometriosis, it's quite quickly as well. Like, you apply it onto your skin, within 10 minutes you feel that cuddle, that warmth of the pain's gone. So there's definitely bioavailability there for it to go through epidermis layers of the skin. What, unfortunately, we haven't got is the strong UK backing with that, and that you're allowed to say that. Yeah. But, you know, when you have someone like your nan who's got arthritis and they apply the balm onto their hands, and then within 5 minutes she's like, sure, let's work. You know, what is that? I'm like, it's 5 plants, you know, that's it. There's no preservatives, there's no toxic ingredients. So, yeah, it's crazy. So it is a skincare, it's amazing for skin. The omega oils in hemp seed alone, forget CBD, hemp seed alone is a superfood. It's amazing to add to smoothies and just to eat the seeds.
So just coming into my next question is the different ways that you can take it. So you can take the drops, you can put it as oil.
So the drops is a really good one because we have receptors under our tongue. So like Jazz was saying, it intensifies you taking the CBD. So that's a good one. So you can hold it. The longer you can hold it under your tongue, the better. I have a friend who does a wellbeing event where she does their hair and gives them a nice head massage, but she makes them hold the CBD under their tongue for 20 minutes. And the people that have never experienced CBD before, they're sitting in this posh salon having their hair done, and they're like, wow, like they feel the effects, you know, it's quite amazing. And yeah, it's exciting when you see someone experience it.
CBD acts with your cannabinoid system, which is responsible for regulating your body. So a lot of people feel different effects out of it. For example, there are people that takes in before bedtime to help them sleep better.
Really,
people like,
really good with insomnia, isn't it?
Yes, and then people that take it before work for concentration. Like my husband takes it before work, and he feels much more productive. In my case, I use it for migraines, and I was just telling him, like, I used to have really, really bad migraines. And now I take CBD and it takes away my pain, which is incredible. I couldn't believe it. And I have a neighbor who has arthritis, and I gave one of my products to her, and I said, "Why don't you try this? You know, it's a natural. It's not gonna make you any harm." And then she tried it, and she was a bit skeptical. And she tried it, and she was amazed by it. So it's more for inflammation. There is a lot of research around this, that it acts really with inflammation, and it acts with your own cannabinoid system, so it helps regulate your body, so that's why it's so good for wellness.
Yeah, the endocannabinoid system is in charge of our pain receptors, our temperature control systems as well.
Eating, sleeping,
it's literally
everything.
The top 5
it was named after, the reason it's called the endocannabinoid system is because it was named after cannabis, because it was found to have such a dramatic effect on your nervous system, and all these receptors, like you're saying, even your skin and your temperature, your sleep, your appetite, everything's all controlled by this central nervous system, which is then affected by the CBD.
And it's the biggest receptor system in our human body that was found in the 1980s. It's actually incredible. I'd love to see what the next 50 years is going to bring. You know, we've just tapped into THC and CBD. There's over 113 cannabinoids. You know, there's a lot of extensive research going into CBN now, and eyesight and CBG. And I think that's where we'll be looking for the next few years, is what comes out with the other cannabinoids. You know.
Okay, so very best Camilla, next.
Yes, it was actually quite a good question. So I think
That was a really good one. Yeah.
we have a question there, yeah?
Two. I'm working with some scientists from Oxford, so they are developing new biomarkers and new ways of tracking chronic inflammation in our bodies. Also, I'm collaborating with some medical doctors from King's College and other universities, and they are doing precision medicine or preventative medicine. I'm working in the supplement market for like 2 years now, and I'm consuming myself different CBD oils. I tried various, and obviously my confusion comes whereas how do I know which CBD should I take? Because I've seen companies, they're having different colors, you know, they extract the fibers, the terpenes, they're like, okay, I'm going to clear out the liquid to look better and stuff like that. Some say in order to open and to access all the CBD gates, you have to have the whole compounds. You can't separate them because obviously it's not going to be so effective. So that's one question. How does a customer, because I'm trying to figure out ways of recommending to clients and to people the best CBD they can take, or at least to have a list from where they can get like very clean, good sources of CBD. So how do I know as a I don't know, client, customer, which CBD should I buy? What's the differences between different CBDs? Because obviously every company says like mine is the best because of so and so. That would be one. And the second one, which is it leads to my confusion, and now we have to figure it out, the way of directing people to take them from the concentration and the dosage perspective, because we have like 3%, 5%, 20% strength. So some companies, they say like, okay, you need a half a pipette or 1 pipette or 3 drops or 6 drops. So I can't really understand yet how much, first of all, which one to choose. I know I discovered a few CBD oils that are absolutely incredible. But I'm sure there are many others on the market, and the more I know about them, it's easier for me to understand the whole picture. And then how much should we take? Because obviously one thing is to experiment on my own skin, but we're unique, so we all have different reactions, responses, and needs in our body.
That's the main point.
Yeah.
With which oil you should buy, I think it's just common sense, like any product. You do your research, you try to speak to the organisation, but the verification process shouldn't just involve the organisation. You should try to find other people who are using that product and then can verify that it is a good product.
Yeah, but then, for example, I know a couple of, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago, it was like cold press CBD. Yeah? Now we have critical extraction. From my own understanding, CO2 extraction is the best you can get. So if somebody comes like, okay, I had really good results with cold press one, should I recommend people cold press only because I had some good feedbacks? But see, it's very relative, because if somebody had like I don't know, anxiety, it's much easier to treat anxiety with the cold press CBD. But when it comes to MS, for example, or other autoimmune diseases, you will need stronger.
I think that's where it gets really difficult. So first of all, verify the product, and then you've got to make a decision and choose which product you go for. When it comes down to the condition, the strength, and the dosage, that is absolutely unique to each individual, and they have to start the journey. And you need to give them the ability to make an informed choice. And we always tell them, coming back to our 3 ways, you either start off low and then work your way up. You start off high, work your way down. Or use this 0.5 milligram per 1 pound you weigh scientific stake in the ground. You run that for 21 days, because some people, I told a story earlier about the lady who had the hot legs. Her daughter one day, she's 23, she has migraines, intense migraines. And she's never been able to control them. So migraine comes on, she knows for 4 hours she's going to have to be in a dark room. Now she took her mother's spray that she was using on her legs, sprayed it in her face, and the migraine didn't come on. So now she uses it. So my point being is that with this young girl, it works immediately, and that was a 400 milligram, very low dose in terms of tinctures. But her father needs to take 40% strength oil. He needs to take about 200 milligrams a day under his tongue for it to work. So it depends on the person. So what we try to do is we try to give them the 3 basic structures. One is to start low, and usually that's a budget-driven or fear-driven. You know, they haven't quite got to the point where they're taken on. Maybe it's moral, maybe it's they just don't understand. They don't want to, or they're very young on their journey. The people who like the scientific, the logic, they go for the stake in the ground approach, and the people who just want to get this pain managed, or this excruciating anxiety that they have that's keeping them housebound, they want to get it managed, they go for the higher approach. So each person is completely individual and unique. There is some research that talks about why that's the case, and it's to do with how the liver processes the CBD, again through the P450 system. But it's all still I wouldn't say theory, but it's all still being researched.
Absolutely.
And that
It's
doesn't,
very
and that doesn't
yeah.
help when someone's on the phone saying, I'm in pain. So, so it's a journey, and you've got to, when you're choosing a product, apply the same rules you do with any other product. When you've made that choice, try to strike up a conversation or a relationship with the person that's helping you, and then try to get the verification. And then, unfortunately, you've just got to take the product, try to form a relationship where you have that support process. What we do is we tell people, mark down the 3 conditions, the 3 main symptoms of the conditions that you're trying to manage. Most of the time it's anxiety, pain and insomnia. Then the whole lot underneath that, we say to them, score quality of life out of 10 now what they are, and every 7 days for 21 days continue to do that. And then it gives you the ability to track back. And at the end of that 21-day period, you'll then know if the CBD strength that you're taking is correct and your dosage is correct. If you've met those goals, then that's great. If you haven't, then you need to look at perhaps increasing the dosage or increasing the strength. And again, we apply whether it's you come back for it from a budgetary perspective or whether it's managing the condition. So if an organisation can help you through that, and you can find other people online that have been through that process of the organisation, then that's a good place to start.
Thank you.
So we have a question, sorry.
Oh,
this lady here. Yeah, well, let's just keep going.
Yeah, thanks. Really interesting conversation. When you describe your businesses, you talk about them almost as therapeutic companies rather than product-driven companies. Do you think, there are 2 questions associated with that. First of all, do you think in this regulatory environment they will necessarily remain small, therapeutically driven businesses? And if not, where does your vision for the future lie? Do you see potential for growth to turn it into something bigger down the road, or is that something you don't particularly want to do? That's a question for everybody, actually.
I think there's definitely potential. This market, what we're seeing at the moment happening here in the UK, is really at the infancy stages. So if we follow, say, what's happened in America and what's happened in Canada, and even parts of Eastern Europe where they have much bigger brands, then I think we are really right at the beginning. So there is a lot of scope and a lot of room for all these companies to grow and for everyone's companies to grow alongside each other, just because the market is just not reached anywhere near its full potential. I think we were speaking earlier, it's under 10% of the population that use CBD in the UK at the moment. So that's doubling. But in 2017, it was 250,000 a year. Last year was 500,000 people. This year, I think we're going to go way over 1 million users. And this is just the iceberg, like the inception stages, like I said. So I think there's definitely room to grow. And like I said, it's really challenging being in this industry. So it forces you to be creative and it forces you to be different. I think that's going to make a lot of these brands stand out as they continue to grow and continue to kind of dominate their market space in whatever they're doing.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think once the farmers release their product, then it's going to change hugely. Until then, organisations like ourselves, we can bring the product to market and we can enjoy the growth and bringing our products and helping people. But once the GP is allowed to and frequently sign off on prescription, that'll change things. And then it'll go back down to the artisan producers like ourselves, and there's going to be some action in place. So who knows if we survive? We hope we do.
I hope that answers your question. We have another question here.
It wasn't really a question, it was more just sort of talking about what that lady mentioned. And I suppose it's kind of important for people to think about this as something that's actually natural. So when people say, what's the dosage I should take, that's coming from how doctors traditionally teach people or to fix people. So like you go to the chemist and buy some tablets and say, take these 2 tablets and that will be fine. We have to think about it very differently and think about it as it's a personal thing, not a mass market thing. And we talked about Coca-Cola and all those companies getting involved. That's where they're going to try to set what the rule is, what you should take. And it's actually to avoid all of that. Because if we're trying to mend ourselves, it has to be done on an individual basis. It can't be one thing fixes all. So
everybody's different.
Yeah, so everyone has to think about, if I am connecting with this thing, it's a connection between me and this thing naturally, and I'll try it and experience it and go on the journey to naturally get better, not sort of a rigid way of thinking.
I have to take 40% really high strength just to manage some pains in my arms. We have a lady who has cancer and has 1 gummy bear a day, and it manages her chemo, and her antigens are down, her cancer antigens are down. So that's 1 gummy bear versus what I take just for pain. It's crazy. So we are all so different in how our bodies react to CBD.
And I think CBD is what it's trying to do. It's trying to work with all the nervous system, hormonal system, respiratory. It's trying to work with all the systems to create balance. That's what it's trying to do. So I suffered with a hyperthyroid tension. You know, I've got flare up of hormonal skin every month. What CBD does, it just tries to work with the endocrine system, because that's what's flaring up. That's why I've got skin issues, I've got pain issues. It could be someone like my nan, where she's got an anti-inflammatory thing with arthritis, which is to do with the immune system. So I think why it's different from everybody is because we're not all at the same balance individually. So you're so right in what you're saying. And then when you go back to pharmaceutical drugs, they're pretty much all start with a herb, you know? Yeah. I've got aloe vera on my windowsill, you know, if my children, I don't know, if I burnt myself with the eye or something, I'm going straight to that, you know. When it comes to lavender, I was brought up in an Irish, all my family are Irish, and I was brought up with fields, acres of field. They grew their own potatoes and onions, and I come from quite a herbal background. You know, I clean my house with lemon and salt. I think you're right in what you're saying. Why is it not being treated like a normal individual basis thing? Like we've got lavender on our window, or we've got aloe vera in the fridge, you know. I think you've definitely nailed it on the head.
It gets it. Yeah. When those companies get involved, it starts to get scary,
it
because you're actually going to change this natural thing into something else.
Yeah, and the amount of times people say to me, what is in this? What is in this? That's just, and I'm like, 5 ingredients. 5 ingredients, they're plants, I can name them all. You've got hemp seed, argan, almond, lavender, lemon, lemongrass and CBD.
I think what they're looking for is those big words with the X, is that
yeah,
the beginning?
They are.
Then it sounds scientific.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. But
it's not science, it's nature.
It's nature, and that's it. Yeah, I think that's what we're all.
Maybe the last questions we can take, and then.
I wanted to ask you where you're at with explaining the different strains and stuff.
Sure. So at the moment, we're currently building the blockchain. I've been building it for about a year. About to go into testing. We're going to be working with a number of labs. There's 2 in the UK, I mentioned earlier. We'll be working with probably one or the other. We do have one in Spain that we're already working with at the moment. But yeah, we should be seeing the products in the market in the next 9 to 12 months, sort of thing, actually launched for public to use, and for you guys most importantly. But I think once we get something like that out, and we're able after a few years to sort of start to see trends as to which cannabinoids are treating sort of which symptoms, which fertilizers, and so forth. All these questions we're having now, I think will be a lot easier to answer. And like I've already said, it's just the lack of research we've done over the last 20, 30, 100 years. Once we get that data, I really do believe all these sort of questions we struggle to answer tonight will be answerable. But until we get it and do start doing that research, well, yeah, we just need to get on with it, really.
And in the meantime, all we can do is just, I suppose, keep all our data analysis from customer feedback, you know. So
and that's the best way to build.
Just, you know, so when what a day does come, you can go, there you go, you know. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.